1, 2, 1, 2. Dan Greider, Probable Cause, March 24, 2024. Glad to have you with us on another Sunday evening. Kind of got away from the normal format last Sunday night for the special documentary style video that we did concerning Straight Ahead. How would he have known what the right thing to do was? Straight ahead.
For me, I needed to see where his life ended.
Where should he have gone? I got a lot of plus and minus off of that. I wanted to take special effort to show the theme. That video will stay up for a long time. That is the theme, Straight Ahead, not just concerning engine failures after takeoff, but our mission with AQP. We're going to keep prodding straight ahead on this. I appreciate your support. If you're with us in here in the chat room here tonight, live chat always on Sunday nights in the DC3 AQP room here. Glad to have you with us. Let us know where you're checking in from and say hi in the live chat room. The video last week did very well, and I'm very happy with that. I hope that you took the time to fully embrace that concept and what I was trying to do with that. I want you to know that the story, the NTSB preliminary and final, actually had that information wrong. I did not include that information in the video from last week, but the probable cause had to do with carburetor ice. I can tell you that accident had nothing to do with carburetor ice. This is where NTSB and I completely differ. Yes, it had some kind of an engine problem after takeoff. What it was doesn't really matter. It would be nice to know how we handled it. How we handled the crisis going forward is what is most important. In that particular case, I went through all the engine logbooks. That airplane had a engine fuel flow transducer that was recently installed, and they went out and they taxied out. They sat out at the runway for a long time before they took off. They're not testing data and GPS and navigation systems. All that stuff gets done without an engine running with a power card hooked up. When you go out to the runway and you put power on it, you're trying to determine fuel flow through the fuel flow transducer. I found the install kit, the STC for the fuel flow transducer. This is often a cause of new install accidents and loss of power after takeoff. This was a fuel flow transducer problem. How they handled it was not appropriate. They did not go straight ahead. I hope I made that clear. I feel very bad that the NTSB put all that effort in there. They talked about training and education. They did not talk about conditioning. I'm going to show you a real short clip here of something that somebody sent to me. This isn't my format, but it's designed to get to a wider audience. I'm going to include it in here. This is a wider audience AI, artificial intelligence grouping of the AQP concept. So somebody else made this based on my script and sent it to me. I want to get your take on it. I'm not going to stay with this format, but I want to possibly explore the concept of using AI. I have to use AI. I don't have any real intelligence myself. Artificial intelligence would be a welcome change here. Check out this clip.
In the vast expanse of the aviation world, we all feel the pull of the sky. As private pilots, we understand that flight proficiency is unrelated to how we handle surprise in-flight crisis. Previous FAA training and education only go so far when shock and crisis occurs. Now, a new initiative is aiming to lower the general aviation fatal accident rate through education, training, and conditioning. Conditioning is the actual in-flight pilot rehearsal so that responses are precise, rapid, and correct. In the time of crisis, previous education and training are of no value. By drawing from the success of the proven Airline Advanced Qualification Program philosophy, AQP for general aviation can result in instant proper pilot response and significantly reduce the random otherwise fatal scenarios to mere incidents. The airplane gets bent, but you still get to unbuckle and go to dinner with your family. We believe that we can take that airline AQP philosophy and replicate that success for general aviation. By publishing and practicing our conditioned and well-rehearsed responses to common scenarios, we can reduce the frequency of fatal accidents. Murphy's Law says that something is going to happen to you on your next flight. The FAA gave you training and education. Training and education are not for crisis. Conditioning is for crisis. Your surprise in-flight crisis is about to happen to you. Will you be listed as a fatal accident, or will it be listed as a mere inconvenient incident? AQP for general aviation is the game changer for general aviation safety. AQP isn't just for the big boy airlines anymore either.
You know, I am running very low on material. Number of fatals for the year. So far, the first quarter of 2024 is about to wrap up. It's March 24. We're within a few days of wrapping up the first quarter. We're at a total of 21 fatals. I had to add one from last month once I found out what the deal was. I'll go over that. But here's the March total so far. Here's the 6 that we've had for the month of March. They're on your screen right now. I'll show those to you. We're going to talk a little bit about those in detail. So far, the actual total for the month, year-end number, 7.625 fatals per month, stretched out over a year. This is prorated for 366 days in 2024. 7.625 is where we're at, I believe. 7.625 general aviation fatals per month, prorated right down to the day, March 24th, which is really good. Remember, we were aiming for 13. Not that that number is not going to go up in the future. I know it will, but right now for the first quarter, this is the first time we've ever seen a first quarter of a year end up this low, which is a very, very good start. I'm sure hoping we can end up sub 13, maybe even sub 12 for the year. That would be some great progress to have. So far, 0 ag fatals. My special friends, the crop dusters, the ag people, extremely nice people, family people, farmers that fly airplanes. They're the people out there crop dusting our crops so that we can eat. They do a hot, dirty, dangerous job. After I got back from that ag conference, that kind of changed my life a little bit, understanding and listening to those guys talk about ag operations. So far for the year, 0 in the United States. We did have one in South America. I'll show you that. That's a stall spin and a turnaround. This is an ag truck, a 188 stall spin and a turnaround. But so far in the United States, 0 for U.S. Let's keep that going, boys. Take a little bit extra time. Turn that thing around at the end of your spray run. Turn it around a little bit slower. Your flying, to me, is already impressive. You don't need to impress me anymore, and you're not going to get it done any faster by flying a high speed with a high speed pull up at heavy weight. It's not going to get done any faster. Let's slow down and stay alive out there. You know, I did get a whole bunch of complaints because we missed last Sunday night the normal format and some of our messing around. I'll show you a little bit of stuff here, a little bit of trivia, grider trivia. My dad turned 95 years old yesterday. They live out in Northwest Arkansas, and we had already told them that we could not be there for his birthday party on Saturday, the 23rd. We couldn't be there because of a previous grider family reunion in Virginia. I'm going to show you a little bit of clip from both of these events. So we told them that we weren't coming, when the truth was we did go out there. Me and Drew and Dylan did go out there for the day on Friday. They were having lunch at the senior center, already in their seats, ready to eat lunch, and they did not know that we were there. We made our grand entrance grider style. I hope you'll enjoy this very short little clip, and you can see their surprise.
Where is it? Ready?
It's ready. It's filming. So that was Friday, just a few days ago. Then we jumped on a jet, went to Chase City, Virginia, where my dad is actually from. All the Grinders were together out there. It was my aunt's 90th birthday, and we were out there for just a few minutes with all of them out there. A happy birthday to Edith Grinder. My dad was one of 8 kids. His father died during the Depression, and he was left to raise the rest of the kids and run the farm and take care of the kids after the very, very early death of his father back in some very difficult times. So very happy birthday to my dad. I'll tell you a little bit about him at the very, very end of this. I got one quote that kind of struck me here this week that somebody asked me a question. I'll give you the answer to that question at the very end of this. Gives you a little bit of insight. My father turned out to be a teacher. He spent a lifetime teaching 7th and 8th grade math, and I'll give you the very end of that if I can remember to put that in at the very end of this video here. Let's get on to the rest of this stuff. You know, we just came in off the road with the DC-3, the Douglas DC-3. I took some people, went out on the road on a tour, gave some DC-3 SIC type ratings, went down to Florida. Supposed to go into Crestview, Florida. We left on Friday a week ago, went down there. Weather's good. We had plenty of gas. Got down towards Crestview. The weather forecast had been perfect. Everything was good. There was some rain in the area. Not a big deal. We had plenty of gas. As we got down towards Crestview, Dan ended up declaring an emergency, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But we got towards Crestview, where we were going to speak on Saturday morning at the pilot's pancake breakfast thing that they were having down there. We agreed to go down there, so we were there. I diverted. I tried to get into Crestview, and at the last minute, Crestview went almost 0-0 in heavy rain, just like Florida. The ceiling started coming down, the visibility started coming down just about time of our arrival. So I was just north of Panama City. I turned left and headed towards Panama, but their weather was 800 broken, visibility 5, technically IFR, and I was a VFR guy. So I asked for a special VFR. They said, yes, we can let you in just a minute, but we got to get this IFR jet in. So I said, fine. We went to the east side, southbound to the east side of their Class D and waited, went a little bit south and turned around. And then after that jet came in, the guy on the radio, he said, yeah, it's going to be a few minutes before we can get you in because I'm going to get one more departure out. And at that point, our weather was continuously deteriorating, now down to about 500 overcast, visibility 3 and light rain, and things were coming down all around us. Dan gets on the radio, and I said, negative 143 Delta, declaring an emergency. I'm pointed straight at you. And what did he say on the radio in response? He said, Roger, clear to land any runway. Now, there's an amazing concept. As soon as I say the magic words, negative, I'm declaring emergency. I'm pointing straight at you. There's no hesitation. Clear to land any runway. No questions, no anything. We're coming in. What do you want? You want 16 or 34? We turned right, made a right base for 34, landed. Sure enough, there was a jet holding to take off on 16. Everything was good. And then the questions. Are we going to have to do paperwork? Is this an emergency? Am I going to have to call Jennifer at the NTSB? No. There's no paperwork, no problem. I declared an emergency. We had plenty of gas. We did plenty of proper planning. The weather did come around us. This is inadvertent IMC. I'm not going to end up out here IMC with students in the seat with low vis, rain, and those kind of things. I'm going to, yes, some jet had to wait an extra 30 seconds for us to turn right and land and get out of his way. So what? Declare an emergency. Did I ever get a phone call? No, there's no paperwork, and those people were happy. They'd switched me over to tower, clear to land any runway. Everything's good, taxied in, and everything's fine. There's a very good lesson for you. I'm declaring an emergency. I'm pointed straight at you. You deal with it. Now, while we were down there, we did get carted over from Panama City back over to Crestview. Charlie Booten and the EAA chapter down there had a great time. Very large turnout, a whole bunch of people there. I got to recognize quite a few people there. There was a guy in the audience there who was age 91, still flying. Quite a few very, very decorated long-term civilian and military pilots I enjoyed meeting. One woman introduced herself as a Air Force F-35 pilot just before I began to speak. And of course, in my normal style, I had a little bit of fun with that. She told me that she was a former F-35 pilot, the very first F-35 pilot in America. So I had a little bit of fun with that. Very well, she took she took it very well. Actually, I don't think that I would actually want to tangle with her. She's probably 3 times the pilot that I ever thought about being, and probably 4 times tougher. So we did have a little bit of fun with that. And here's a quick interview that I shot with her. This is the actual very first female F-35 pilot in America. All right, here we are down here at Crestview, Florida. I just found this female pilot. I just finished this presentation. I got to ask you, I tried my best. Did I offend you?
I don't think that you can offend me. I've heard it all.
Cheryl is F-15E.
Now you've offended me.
What's your name?
Christine. Or Grinder. If you can remember Grinder.
Are you Grinder? I'm Grinder.
I know.
There you go. All right.
Okay.
Well, I'll eventually figure it out. Christine flew F-15Es, right? The Strike Eagle, and then you went and flew the F-35.
Yes.
And did that a couple. First female F-35 pilot,
yeah.
which is totally cool. And there's a whole bunch of women pilots here today. I typically do this. I tried my very best to offend Christine, and I think I took it right to the danger zone, didn't I?
You did, in fact, just straight to the danger zone.
I stopped just short of having stuff getting thrown at me. But,
yeah, I was thinking about screaming obscenities, but I, controlled myself.
Yeah. Well, we had a great time. I appreciate you coming out, and thanks for your service. I think the whole F-35 thing is really cool. And now you're still teaching where?
At Eglin Air Force Base.
In the Sims?
Yes.
You're fully retired.
Academics and simulators, and I fly those with those guys.
But you're retired, and now you're flying in GA. What's the GA airplane you're flying?
I got a RV-6 and a Cherokee 6.
There you go. All right, so I'm wanting you to stay off of my monthly list.
I plan on it.
In that Cherokee 6, that thing, you be ready to go, and you're gonna have a lot of fun in the GA world. That is some serious fun flying, but boy, it will bite you too. Single engine.
Yep.
I mean, it will bite you. So, anyway, thanks for coming out, and I enjoyed the whole thing here today. Plenty of food, and it was nice to meet you. I have never met. I don't think I've ever met an F-35 pilot at all.
Wow.
Ever. Well, I'm just not at that.
There's one more here if you want to go meet him too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, he probably wouldn't be nearly as potentially. I can have more fun trying to offend you out of this whole thing. So, anyway, thanks for coming out.
You're welcome. Thanks. Thank you for coming.
You bet.
Yeah.
A great trip, and we're back. I want to tell you that Sun and Fun is coming up. We're not going to go to Sun and Fun, but I am here, Hampton, Georgia, HMP. If you want to send me an email, here's my email address. Send me an email. If you're coming through on the way, I can offer you an AQP flight review in your airplane. I got a free crew car you can use. We have cheap 100 low lead gas if you'd like to fly the DC-3. It's $500 left seat. I'll let you make a takeoff, go out and fly it around. I'll let you bring it around and land it. That's $500 total. If you want to fly it for a full hour, you can get quite a few takeoffs and landings in it. You can split it. You can carry people in the back. If you want to rent the airplane for an hour and do training, I can give you dual instruction in the airplane. And if you want to bring your wife, your girlfriend, or both of them in the airplane at the same time, you can do that, and it's a lot of fun. I'll be here the entire week of Sun and Fun. You guys on the way down and on the way back, plan to stop at Hampton. You can use the car. We'll go to dinner if you want to, if you'd like to stop in to Hampton, Georgia. Even if you don't want to do anything, stop in and say hi. And if you need a car or 100 low lead or anything that you need, let me know if I can help you in any way. You know, I do a whole bunch of these speaking things all around the country. Last week, a guy called me up. His name's John Young. He heard me speak probably 3 or 4 years ago at some EAA chapter over in Alabama. He called me up. I've had casual conversation with him over the last year or so. He's a very accomplished flight instructor. He heard me speak about AQP, and I totally changed his way of thinking. He's given so many AQP flight reviews. He wanted to stop over and meet me, so we stopped and had lunch. He bought me lunch, and he wanted to give me an endorsement for what he thought about DMMS and AQP. John Young is a pretty experienced flight instructor, but I want you to know that's one of the fruits of me stopping over to visit. Every time I speak to a group of 100 or 125 or something like that, there's probably 8 or 10 CFIs in the room. I'm able to affect the learning and the concept and the philosophy of some people as they hear it. If you'd like me to come and speak it to your organization, it's free. I don't charge anything. I can travel for free. I can get there. All I need is a sleeping bag and a sandwich. I can be there. I'd love to come and speak at your organization, wherever you are. I try to do at least 1 or 2 of those per month. Send me an email if you'd like me to come out to your group, and I'm happy to do it. Let's listen to John Young's. Now, this is an unsolicited endorsement for AQP and DMMS. I did not pay John to say these things about AQP and DMMS.
My name is John Young. I'm a pilot and a flight instructor. I live in Birmingham, Alabama, and I fly out of the Shelby County Airport just south of Birmingham. I fly an RV-12 and a 1X. I learned to fly in 1969. I became a flight instructor in 1989. I've been flying continuously since 1989. A few years ago, Dan Greider came to our airport and presented a safety seminar, which I attended and focused on and was very interested in. And I've since learned a lot more about the concepts, and I'm a firm believer in AQP and DMMS. And all of my flight reviews that I do now are AQP flight reviews. I believe that conditioning for an emergency is very beneficial and required if you want to live, if you have an emergency. I think that DMMS, putting that on your airspeed indicator, that alone, I think will save lives. I have it on the airspeed indicator in one of my airplanes. The other one, the EFIS, does not have a provision for it, or I'd have it there. But I occasionally find myself turning downwind to base and I'm a knot or two below DMMS, and I immediately correct. So I'm actually doing a flight review every year now, a DMS flight review myself, and I send them to my insurance broker for her to forward to the insurance company. I want them to know that I'm continuously training. But the real purpose I do them is because when my engine quits, I want to be ready and drop the nose, and I'm going to go straight ahead and land at whatever is straight ahead.
Speaking of unpaid endorsements here, I got my dander up a little bit. This guy named Joe Costanza started posting all this stuff recently on Instagram, social media, endorsing AOPA. And I know Joe. Let me make sure that you know that I think Joe is a fine individual. He's a good guy with a family. He's a nice guy and he flies a Cup. No question there. Did Joe accept money from AOPA for the purpose of saying nice things about AOPA? Was that a paid endorsement by AOPA? Well, the truth is it was. So I sent a message to Joe and he called me. I want you to hear that this is an actual 6-month paid commitment from Joe to endorse AOPA for the next 6 months. Now, the problem I have with that, if you look at what Joe says, he wants to give back to the community. There's a big difference between giving back and taking in. Joe, you're not giving back to the community when you accept cash from AOPA. There's nothing wrong with getting a sponsorship, an endorsement, or being paid for your voice and for your influence. That's fine, but don't tell us that you're giving back to the community when the truth is AOPA wrote the script and wrote you a check to say what they wanted you to say. That crosses a line. There's nothing illegal here. It doesn't exactly sit right to me when you tell people that you're giving back to the community when the truth is you're receiving a paycheck.
Hey guys, I'm excited to announce that I'm partnering with AOPA to help educate and promote the benefits of an AOPA membership.
You know, not to harp on AOPA like I normally do, but I'm going to go ahead and harp on AOPA. They just had their awards. One of the big awards that they gave out was to an organization that gives to the general aviation community. And I got to looking this up. Which is fine. This organization, Sisters of the Sky or something like that. This is AOPA's big banquet at Washington National Reagan Airport. They rented the whole thing. This includes food, alcohol, and all the big dogs were there to hand out this award to somebody who's done the most for general aviation. And here's a clip from AOPA's YouTube channel. Here's a clip of that person and the award that they got.
AOPA honored many aviation heroes on March 20th during the R.A. Bob Hoover Trophy reception. We had it in Washington, D.C. at Ronald Reagan National Airport's historic Terminal A. Check out the honorees.
We are privileged to have one such special leader here with us today. Where are you? Come on up here, Teresa.
I'm so pleased, thankful. I'm just proud to be here.
I don't know. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm not convinced that the organization is anything what they used to be. They're not member driven. I just don't see where this is going. I think that particular organization, Sisters of the Sky, that's a fine organization that you can have and you can do all that stuff. That's fine. Is it worthy of an award for doing things for general aviation? I don't know. You tell me what you think. So far, I'm just not seeing it. I'm going to put the 6 general aviation fatal accidents up on the screen. Here they are right here. And I got a couple corrections to make here. This accident on the 2nd of March, Pat Moore, age 85, that's definitely a mishandled abnormal. Both of those guys with more than 100 years of flight experience on board had an engine problem of some kind, ended up stalling and spinning. The second one, this PA-32 in Tennessee, this is the Canadian, also a mishandled abnormal, Victor Dotsenko, 43 years old. What happened here on this one, they just found out, they just released the preliminary. He ran this airplane low on fuel and he switched tanks. I'm not sure why he ended up over the top of John Toon Airport, runway heading at night. He should not have been out there at night. John was a very young pilot, very young individual, brand new pilot with only several hundred hours of flight time total. He's at night with his family on board in this very complicated airplane. He did not get the fuel selector into the proper detent when he switched tanks. That's all that happened. They found the detent not locked into the correct position. That's why the engine quit. If this had been a daytime operation, it would have been just fine. Remember my deal here? I'm going to harp on this a little bit. Pick one: night, IMC, terrain, and ice. In some cases, pick none. If you only got 200 hours and you're brand new and you got your family on board, let's change this. Pick none. You don't need to be doing that. That particular airplane is already more than enough airplane. That's more airplane than you actually need to be doing. Here's the rest of them up here. I'm going to put this up here. I had to go back and add November 1125 Alpha. That's the Israeli aircraft 1125 in Virginia. This is a VREF accident. 2 pilots and 3 people on board, including a young child. This airplane ended up on the approach under very windy, gusty conditions. Day VFR, huge crosswind, lots of gust in the mountain terrain. They were at VREF, probably. Don't have the numbers yet, but in any case, they lost lift, probably a shear to a tailwind on the approach, and they did not. It takes a long time to get those power levers up and get those engines spooled up. It planted them right into the side of that hill, and of course everybody dead instantly. You got to add a whole bunch to VREF in these gusty, windy conditions. You can add VREF. Half the steady plus all the gust is very common. You got to add some to VREF. You got to bug, brief, and fly VREF in a jet. Don't let this thing get slow. Be ready to go around. Keep those engines spooled up. This is a Part 91. I formerly thought, since it was a 135 operation, they had it labeled as a 135 trip. Turns out they were operating this in a Part 91 leg. So yes, it goes on our sheet. Our deepest respects and condolences to that entire loss of the jet and those families and friends on this airplane. A horrible accident. Let's look at the next one here. November 3264 Whiskey is the Cherokee 6 out in Oregon. We still don't have any more information on that. And then the last one to be added on the 17th of March, 4425 Lima. That's an Air C. It's out in Arizona. I got the video. I'll show you the video of it here. This is the video of this thing. It's kind of like a weight shift trike, a 2-person weight shift trike. 1 person died and 1 survived. That's it. I got to get out of here. I'll leave you with the little piece of information regarding my father that I just found it ironic here. My dad's birthday. If you have a chance to say happy birthday to my dad, James Grider. Somebody asked me last week in preparation for all this, they said, is your father a wealthy man? And I had to stop for just a second. And then I said, yes, he is. For my tiny little itty-bitty fledgling YouTube channel, Dan Grider, probable cause.